All right, so now we're going to do my Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. So at number 32, we got the New York Giants, who are moving down one spot, are now 2-7 after they just lost 30-6 versus the Raiders. And Tyrod Taylor got injured, Daniel Jones got injured for the season. So now they're stuck with Tommy DeVito for the rest of the year. Or at least until Tyrod Taylor gets back. But Tyrod Taylor is on the IR along with Darren Waller. So, they just got a lot of injuries. So that's why I'm moving to their team down. And since we're at the halfway point of the season, I want to give a couple key stats from the team's seasons so far. So the Giants right now have the worst offense in the league, scoring 11.2 points per game, which, kind of bad, and they're the second least sacks on defense. It's only 15 sacks through 9 games, which is also not very good. So yeah, number 31, we got the Chicago Bears. They lost by 7 to the Saints. Wasn't a bad game, but they're also going to be without Justin Fields this week and without Tremaine Edmonds this week. So I'm not sure how well that game is going to go against the Panthers without Justin Fields. They also have the worst touchdown differential in the league so far at -9, and the fourth worst points per game on defense, allowing nearly 27 points per game. Number 30, we got the Carolina Panthers. They're going to drop 2 spots after they lost this week to the Colts, 27-13. They also have a few injuries. They got Justin Houston's injured on the IR, along with 2 other linebackers. So they did end up signing Blake Martinez, who hasn't played in a couple years, but they signed him to, fill out their linebacker rotation. Now they have 3 guys on the IR. They also are going to be missing Brian Burns and DJ Chark for the Thursday night football game. So, that's obviously going to hurt them a little bit. And their interesting stat is that they only have 21 red zone drives all season long, which is tied for the 4th worst in the NFL. So yeah, they can't even get inside the red zone. Number 29, I got the Arizona Cardinals. So yeah, they did lose 27-0 this week, and are 1-8. So got the worst record in the league, but they're moving up because Kyler Murray and James Conner are both supposed to be back for Week 10. So, they're going to be a lot better team getting their 2 best players back. So that's basically why they're moving up. They're also, they're last in passing yards per game with only 181 passing yards a game. And their defense has only knocked down opposing quarterbacks a total of 8 times. Most of the other teams have over 8 sacks. So that's really bad. Number 28, got the Patriots dropping 4 spots after they lost 20-17 versus the Commanders. So not a horrible game for them. But he did end up losing again. Your record's 2-7, so you're not really a good team. And the Patriots this season have the 2nd worst points per game on offense with only 15 points, which is, obviously not very good. But their defense has been really good. They're tied for 2nd in hurries on the quarterback, with 40 hurries on the season, so averaging over 4 a game. So their defensive pressure is doing really well, but it's going to waste with their horrible offense. Number 27, I got the Raiders jumping up 2 spots after getting a really good win, 30-6, without Josh McDaniels for the first game. So they looked a lot better in this game than they have in any game so far. They also signed tight end Jesse James to be on their team, so maybe he can give them a decent weapon on offense, but it's not like that really matters because they're not even utilizing Devontae Adams enough. So, but they did look better without Josh McDaniels as coach. But so far for the Raiders, they have the 3rd least offensive yards per game, at only 275 yards a game. So, a lot of teams a few teams have more passing yards than that, so that's their total yards, which is obviously not very good. They're also allowing the second most rushing yards a game at 138 yards. So their offense just isn't good in general, and their defense cannot stop the run. Number 26 got the Los Angeles Rams. They dropped 3 spots this week after they lost 20-3 versus the Packers. Matt Ryan didn't play, but I feel like he could have put up more than 3 points. But they did end up cutting Brett Rippon, who was the starting quarterback that game. They cut Brett Rippon and signed Carson Wentz, who is at the very least better than Brett Rippon. So the Rams are on bye this week, but if Matthew Stafford can't play in Week 11, Carson Wentz should be in line to start, which should at least give him a little bit more hope than Brett Rippon. But yeah, for the Rams this year, they have a 100% red zone score rate. So, when they get down in the red zone, they're scoring the ball every single time. So that's really good. And their defense is not doing great. They only have 4 interceptions on defense all year, which is the second worst in the league. But yeah, number 25, we got the Buccaneers dropping 3 spots after they lost 37-39 versus the Texans. That was a really, really good game. They just, their defense just could not stop the Texans at all. But yeah, for the Texans this year, they're third in the league in rushing yards per game on offense with only 78 rushing yards a game. And they're fourth in total yards allowed on defense, fourth worst at allowing 372 yards a game. So they can't run the ball on offense, and they just can't stop anything on defense. Number 24, got the Packers jumping up 3 spots after a good 20-3 win versus the Rams. For the Packers, their interesting stat here is that they only have 3 forced fumbles on the entire season, which is second worst in the entire NFL. Number 23, you got the Falcons dropping 2 spots after they lost a heartbreaker game to the Minnesota Vikings. With Josh Dobbs barely knowing half the players on his team, and the Falcons still could not get the job done. But, their offense looked really good in this game, which, has not been the case so far for most of the season. So it looks like Taylor Heinicke is doing a better job than Desmond Ridder was in that department. But yeah, the Falcons have the second worst touchdown differential in the entire league at -7. And they have the second worst interceptions on defense with only 4. So, not great look there. At number 22, we got the Washington Commanders jumping up 4 spots. They're now 4-5 after beating the Patriots 20-17 this week. So that was a pretty good game for them. For the Commanders, they are 5th in the league in passing yards per game, which is probably not something a lot of us expected to see. But that's pretty impressive for Sam Howell, and a lot of that credit can go to Eric Bieniemy and his offensive schemes probably. But yeah, their defense is not doing their part. They're third worst defense in the league, allowing an average of 27 points per game. So their offense is looking good. Their defense has got to help them out a little bit. Number 21, we got the Titans. They dropped 2 spots. They're now 3-5 on the year. They had a 4-point loss to the Steelers, so not horrible for them. But for the Titans, their offense has not been good in the red zone this season. They're only scoring touchdowns on 30% of their red zone drives, which is the second worst in the entire league. And they only have 2 total interceptions on defense. Ryan Tannehill has thrown, I believe, 6 interceptions. So, when your quarterback throws 3 times the interceptions that your defense can get, it's not going to go well, mostly. So, yeah, number 20, got the Jets. They dropped 5 spots from 15 all the way down to 20. They got destroyed 27-6 versus the Chargers. They are the third worst offense in the league, averaging only 16.5 points per game. But on defense, they're only allowing 175 yards a game, which is the third best in that category for defense. So, their offense has got to step it up a little bit. Number 19, I got the Broncos. They dropped 1 spot on their bye week. So, I don't have too much to say about them. But for the Broncos, they're the 4th worst passing team in the league with only 201 passing yards per game. and they're tied for the worst points per game allowed on defense at 28.3. So yeah, they can't play defense, and they can't pass the ball. So not a good combination there. Number 18, I got the Colts. They jumped up 7 spots this week after the Colts had a good win this week versus the Panthers, 27-13. Their interesting stat here is that they have the second most defensive tackles, in the league with 601 tackles. A lot of that, part of that is because they are on defense more than other teams because you got the really, really good defenses that don't have a lot of tackles because they force a lot of 3-and-outs. So the Colts are not forcing a lot of 3-and-outs, but they're still, getting a lot of tackles, and they're not allowing, a lot of points with it either. Number 17, I got the Texans jumping up 3 spots. They beat the Bucks 39-20 or 39-37 this week, and they are third in the league in passing yards per game with 285 yards a game. So that's really, really solid, especially being led by a rookie quarterback. And their defense is tied for fourth in the NFL with forcing 10 fumbles. So, they're doing a pretty solid job on defense, and their offense is looking really, really good. C.J. Stroud is looking like a top 10 quarterback already. Number 16, I got the New Orleans Saints. They're dropping 3 spots. They beat the Bears by 7 this week. So you don't expect them to be dropping 3 spots, but when you barely beat Tyson Bagent or whatever, you're going to be moving down because you should be beating them by more than 7 points. But the Saints this year do have the third best touchdown differential in the league at +8, and they have the most interceptions on defense with 12. So they got a couple good things going for them. Number 15, I got the Vikings jumping up 2 spots after they did end up winning against the Falcons by 3 points in Josh Dobbs' debut. That is something I did not expect. They also have Cam Akers is now injured for the season, but Alexander Mattison looked really, really good this week. So maybe if you can keep that up, they won't be missing Cam Akers too much. They are second in the league in passing yards per game. And they're tied for the first in forced fumbles this year with 13 forced fumbles. So, they're really good at passing the ball, but a lot of that was Kirk Cousins. So it's going to be interesting to see if Josh Dobbs can keep that up. But their defense has been forcing fumbles, which, obviously will give them extra opportunities on offense. So that's a good thing. Number 14, I got the Seahawks dropping 6 spots after they got obliterated 37-3 versus the Ravens. Seahawks this year are 5-3, but they have a -4 point differential. Not the only team to have a negative point differential with a 5-3 record, but we'll get onto them in a minute. Number 13, I got the Cleveland Browns. They're jumping up 3 spots after they beat the Cardinals 27-0. So that's obviously a really good game for the Browns this year. They are third in rushing yards per game with 144 yards. That's really good. And they're number 1 in yards allowed per game, with only allowing 234 yards a game. So that's really, really good for them. Number 12, we do have the Steelers, who, are one of those other teams that are 5-3 and have a negative point differential. But yeah, let's talk about their game against the Titans. They beat them by 4 points. Not the best game, 20-16. It's definitely a Steelers game to win a game only scoring 20 points. So not a bad game for them. They did lose Cole Holcomb to the IR early in this game, so that could be a miss going forward. And they're only averaging 16 points per game this season. But they are also tied with the Vikings for the most forced fumbles with 13 in the league, which is really good. But with being 5-3, they have a -30 point differential. So that's really concerning. But as of right now, they're in the playoffs, even with a -30 point differential. So I guess it's working out for them. Number 11, you got the Bills. They dropped 1 spot after losing 24-18 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's not a bad game. I mean, they stuck with the Bengals. Only one possession game with the Bengals, who are a really, really good team as well. But right now, the Buffalo Bills are not in the playoff picture. I do expect that to change after they get another game with the Patriots and Jets, as long as they don't screw those up like they did the first time against both of those teams. They should get two easy wins there. But right now they couldn't beat the Patriots or the Jets. Those are two wins they really really needed, especially with how good Miami's looking so far. But yeah, for the Bills, they're third best in red zone touchdown percentage with scoring 70%. They're scoring touchdowns on 70% of their red zone possessions, which is really good. And they have the most knockdowns on defense with 39. So that means, they're getting to the quarterback and knocking him down. So that's really good. Knocking the quarterback down 4 times a game is going to take a toll on the quarterbacks. Number 10, you got the Chargers. They jump up 2 spots after beating the Jets 27-6. So that's a really good game for them. They're tied for first place with touchdown differential at +9. So that's really, really good for them. And they are worst in the league with passing yards allowed per game at 286 yards. So they cannot defend the pass, but they're still scoring more touchdowns than all their opponents. They're scoring more touchdowns than everyone else. Best touchdown differential in the league is really, really good, even though they can't defend the pass. Number 9, I got the 49ers. They're jumping up 2 spots. They had a bye week this week. But, I think I had to drop a couple of teams below them just because they did not play very good. But for the Niners, they run the ball on 50.4% of their plays. Only 1 or 2 teams to run the ball on over half of their plays. So that's interesting to note for them. And they also have the 4th best scoring defense in the league, allowing only 17.5 points per game. So that's really good for them as well. Number 8, we got the Detroit Lions. They moved up 1 spot on their bye week. They're second in yards per game this year, with averaging 390 yards a game. So that's really, really good. And they're second best on defensive rushing yards per game, only allowing 77 rushing yards a game. So that's really, really good for them as well. Number 7, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to drop 3 spots after losing 28-23 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So not a bad game for them. They lost to the Eagles by 5 points. I think that's a pretty solid performance for the Cowboys, but I got to drop them a few spots because they did lose. They also signed Martavis Bryant this week. I'm not sure how much he's going to play, but he's like their 5th best receiver at best, but behind behind Cooks, Gallup, and Lamb, and then probably behind Kevontae Turpin as well. But maybe he can be a part of their team. I'm not really sure how well that's going to pan out. But for the Cowboys, they're 3rd in points per game on offense, with averaging 27.5 points per game. And they're 3rd best in total yards allowed for defense, only allowing 288 yards a game. So that's pretty good for them. Number 6, you got the Miami Dolphins. They dropped 3 spots after losing 21-14 versus the Chiefs. They were down 21-0 in the first half. Then the second half they did not let the Chiefs score, and they ended up scoring 14 points themselves. So they played a lot better second half than the first half, but still concerning that you could only score 14 points in that game. Chiefs defense has looked really good, but I feel like the Dolphins should have been able to score at least 20 plus points, but not a great performance for them offensively. They are 1st in points per game this year still, with averaging 31.7 points per game. But yeah, they're 0-3 against teams that are above 500, which is definitely a concern. Number 5, I got the Jags. They had a bye this week, but I still dropped them 3 spots just because all these teams below them, or all these teams that moved ahead of them, had an impressive win this week. So, I felt their impressive win was impressive enough to move them ahead of the Jaguars. But yeah, they're also they have the 2nd worst red zone score percentage at 70%. So they're only scoring any points, not just touchdowns. They're not even scoring any points on 30% of their red zone drives. That's pretty bad because you should at least be scoring field goals if you're going to get the ball in the red zone. And they're the third worst team against the pass. They're allowing 264 passing yards a game, which is, third worst in the league, so not great for them there either. Number 4, we will see Cincinnati move up here after they beat the Bills 24-18. So I think that was worth moving them ahead of the Jaguars because Bills are, top 10, borderline top 10 team, and Bengals played really good against them. Bengals this year have the third best red zone touchdown percentage. See, they score touchdowns on 70% of their red zone drives, and the Jaguars, only score points on 70% of their drives. But yeah, for the Bengals, that's really good for their offense, and their defense is also has tied for the most knockdowns in the league with 39 knockdowns. So getting to the quarterback almost 5 times a game for the Bengals. That's really good for them. Number 3, we got Kansas City moving up here after they beat the Dolphins 21-14. Like I said earlier, they had a really good first half and second half. They didn't score any points in the second half, but still only let the Dolphins, the number 1 offense in the league, only score 14 points. So that's a really good sign for how good their defense is this year. And yeah, with that, their defense is second in points per game, only allowing 16 points a game. I believe that Cleveland Browns are the only team that is better than them in that category. And they're 4th in passing yards on offense. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is going to keep you in the top 5 of passing yards. But yeah. Number 2, you'll see the Ravens. They obviously destroyed the Seahawks 37-3 this week. Really, really good game for Baltimore Ravens here. They are 1st in rushing yards a game with nearly 160 rushing yards per game for this offense. That's really, really good. The Ravens are actually 1st in defensive points per game, not the Browns. Sorry. Ravens are 1st in defensive points per game at 13.8 points. So it's going to be really interesting when we see if we see a Ravens and Chiefs playoff matchup, because so far these are the 2 best defenses in the league, and at least historically, you got Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson should be 2 high-powered offenses as well. So that could be a very, very interesting game if they do continue the pace where they're at and meet each other in the playoffs. Number 1, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. They beat the Cowboys 28-3. They were number 1 last week. They're 8-1, best record in the league. Looks like they should have their at least their division wrapped up as long as they don't lose like 3 more games this season. But I don't expect them to lose 3 games. I don't know. I feel like they shouldn't lose 3 more games this year. They got the Cowboys one more time. I think they got the Giants twice still. I think they have the Giants twice still. So that should be at least 2 free wins against the Giants. And if they can beat the Cowboys again, then they'll definitely have the division on lock. But either way, they should still have the division on lock. But yeah, for the Eagles, they have the 2nd best offense, averaging 28 points per game, which is obviously really, really good. The 4th best passing defense, only allowing 4th worst, yeah. 4th worst passing defense, allowing 257 yards per game. But they do have the best rushing defense, averaging only 66 yards per game against them. So, they're not the best against the pass, but they are the best team in the league against the run. So that's really good for them. That's a good sign for them. Let's go to my game picks here. So we do got I'm going to actually take the Panthers over the Bears as my upset of the week. Bears don't have Justin Fields for this game, so I'm not completely sure why Panthers are the upset. Because me personally, I feel like the Panthers should be favorited because they have the better quarterback. Bears have a lot of injuries themselves. Panthers do have a lot of injuries as well, but I do feel like they should be able to beat Justin Fields' Bears team. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I got the Colts over the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are just bad, so Colts should win that one. Titans and Bucks should be a close game, but I think Titans get back on track for the win here. Could the Ravens over the Browns? I mean, Ravens have looked like best team in the league other than Philadelphia, so and they have the best defense in the league. So I feel like they should have a really good game against the Browns. I do feel like it will be close. It is a division game, but I definitely feel like Ravens should come out on top. I got the Saints over the Vikings. Um, I don't think Josh Dobbs' magic is going to work again against a good team like the Saints. He had a really good game against the Falcons, but the Falcons don't necessarily have a solid defense this season. Definitely not a good pass defense. Saints do have a good pass defense. That's going to limit Josh Dobbs a little bit. So I feel like the Saints could win that game. I got the Bengals over the Texans as my lock of the week. I don't really got to say much there. If the Bengals lose to the Texans, bro, that's just going to be sad. But yeah. Texans are still a really good team, but I feel like if the Bengals just beat the Bills, are on a 3-game winning streak, I believe, they should be able to beat the Texans. Got the Niners over the Jags. These are both two good teams, both coming off a bye. I do feel like the Niners are the better team, even though my power rankings don't even attest to that. But I feel like they will show that they are the better team this week. They got Chase Young, so maybe we'll see his impact this week. I got the Steelers over the Packers over here. That should be a close game probably, but I feel like Steelers defense should be able to win on that game. Falcons over the Cardinals. Cardinals do have Kyler Murray back this game, but I do think the Falcons will be able to win this week. Cardinals have a little bit of a slow week with Kyler Murray, just getting him back into the groove, and maybe over the next couple weeks they will end up winning a couple games, but I don't see it happening in his first game here. Chargers over the Lions. These are two high-powered offenses. I feel like the Chargers. I feel like the Chargers can win this game. It should be a close game. The Chargers definitely could end up losing, but I feel like it's going to be a shootout, and I do think the Chargers will come on top there. Seahawks over the Commanders. I feel like the Seahawks will bounce back from their disappointing loss against Baltimore Ravens. I feel like they'll bounce back. Pete Carroll will, get them in check and bounce back over here. Against the Commanders. I got the Cowboys over the Giants. That I don't really gotta say much there. Giants are without, they're without Darren Waller. They're without Daniel Jones. Not even Tyrod Taylor. They got freaking Tommy DeVito, who apparently can't throw a pass. They didn't trust him to throw a pass against the Jets, so he's definitely not probably gonna have a very good game here against the Cowboys. So as long as the Cowboys don't utterly suck, they should be winning this game with ease. According to DraftKings, they were minus like 1,400 in this game, which is an insane pick for an NFL game. But yeah, I'm that confident as well. I got the Jets over the Raiders here. It could go either way. I think the Raiders. I said this last week. I said the Raiders were going to dominate in their first game without Josh McDaniels, but then they're gonna lose a couple straight games after that, and their 1 week hype of a win without Josh McDaniels is gonna fade back down to reality here against the Jets. We got the Bills over the Broncos. That shouldn't be too difficult of a game for them. I feel like they should be able to win that game pretty easily. But yeah, my Week 9 record went 12-2. So the last 2 weeks I'm 25-5 in my picks. So I feel really I think it's 25-5. I think that's the right math. I'm pretty confident. After 2 straight weeks of doing really, really good, I feel pretty confident about this week, but it's probably going to go back down. But my overall record is 96-40, which is, I believe, 70% at least there, so that's really good. So my lock of the weeks are 10-1, with only the one losing be the Cowboys losing to the Cardinals somehow. My upset of the week are 7-2. I feel pretty confident about this week's upset picks here, but that's my rankings. Thank you for watching. Make sure to let me know what you think, and come back next week for my next power ranking list.